Hello, beautiful black people. I hope that all is well in your world and this day becomes a very, very good day for you and all of your wonderful, wonderful black loved ones. My beautiful, intelligent black brothers and sisters, you do know that mental illness, that racism, you do know that racism is a mental illness, and some of the expert psychologists and psychiatrists have concluded, especially the black psychologists and psychiatrists, have determined that racism is a mental illness. And in addition to that, racism is one of the ingredients that is the cause of all other mental illnesses. Unequivocally, my beautiful, intelligent black brothers and sisters, racism is a mental illness. And who are the folks? Who are the majority of the folks that will display racism, that will implement racist policies, that have made racism endemic in our institutions, that have made racism endemic in our society? It is white folks that have done that. It is white folks that have done that. I am not a scientist. I am not a medical doctor. But this is what I believe. I believe that 70 to 75% of white folks right here on this plantation called America. And I believe what I am going to say is specific to this plantation called America. I believe that 70 to 75% of white folks on this plantation are suffering from the mental illness called racism. My beautiful, intelligent black brothers and sisters. A culture can be likened to a quilt, Quilt. A culture can be likened to a quilt of intricate geometrical design, in which all of the many colored pieces, their shapes, and stitching flow. Have you ever noticed the flow of the stitching in a beautifully made quilt? The stitching has a certain flow that is just beautiful. The stitching flow into one another. The stitching flow into one another in a beautifully made quilt. And that constitutes the whole. WHOLE. That constitutes the whole. Now, know that this is an analogy. It is an analogy. But it is apt for yet a second reason. It is applicable for yet a second reason. Often, very often, the design on the upper side of a quilt is different from the undersurface pattern. Check it out on a beautifully made quilt. You will see that often, frequently, the design on the upper side of the quilt is different from the undersurface pattern. But still, the undersurface design is essential for the outward surface appearance. They are connected. They are connected. They are interconnected, my beautiful, intelligent black brothers and sisters. If you try to decode the culture in which we find ourselves in time and space, if we try to decode the culture in which we find ourselves in time and space, you do know that time and space are equal. They are equivalent, just in different forms. It takes 2 hours to travel from Atlanta, Georgia to Charlotte, North Carolina. It is 152 miles from Atlanta, Georgia to Charlotte, North Carolina. Time and space. It takes 2.5 hours to travel 152 miles. Time and space are equivalent, just in different forms, my beautiful, intelligent black brothers and sisters. Trying to decode the culture in which we live in time and space. That culture is the dominating global power system. The culture that I'm speaking of is the dominating global power system. It is a culture of white supremacy. It is racism, my beautiful, intelligent black brothers and sisters. Racism is a mental illness. Yet, this mental illness has been propagated globally. This mental illness affects all of us in every arena of activity that we have to participate in. This decoding that I'm talking about amounts to turning the page. It amounts to examining and laying bare, B-A-R-E, laying bare the intricate pattern of pieces underlying the culture and this white supremacy power system, showing us in sharp relief its lines, L-I-N-E-S, its lines of force and determination, and thus its overall design. my beautiful, intelligent black brothers and sisters. We can reach this premise and conclusion only by so doing. Is it possible to see where we are going in the existing dense white fog, that cloud of whiteness is always around us? It is a cloud of white fog, my beautiful, intelligent black brothers and sisters, and it hinders us. It hinders us in every activity, in every arena, in every entity that we have to become a part of to survive right here on this plantation called America. It is a white fog that is hindering us, my beautiful, intelligent black brothers and sisters. Now these so-called counter-racist psychiatrists and psychologists defines mental health as patterns of logic. A beautifully designed quilt has many patterns, my beautiful, intelligent black brothers and sisters. Mental illness is a pattern of logic. It is a pattern of thought. It is a pattern of speech. It is a pattern of action. It is a pattern of emotional responses and perception consciously, and the operative word is consciously, practiced by the victims of white supremacy, racism. In other words, our mental health are patterns of logic. Our mental health, my mental health, your mental health are patterns of logic, patterns of thought, patterns of speech, patterns of actions, patterns of emotional responses, and perceptions that are consciously practiced by the victims of white supremacy / racism. All of us, globally, and right here on this plantation called America, are victims of white supremacy. Even white folks are victims of white supremacy, my beautiful, intelligent black brothers and sisters, with the objective of eradicating racism at the global level. Hence is what all of us black folks, and most of us non-white folks, have been on a mission all of our lives. Our ancestors passed that duty down through many generations of black folks. We all know that we are on a mission to try to eradicate racism at our local level and globally. But functionally speaking, for the victims of white supremacy, this means to act, and the operative word is act, A-C-T. This means to act in a self/group, self/group, respecting and supporting. Act. This means to act in a self/group, respecting and supporting manner in all areas of people activities, despite the specific conditions of racist domination and oppression, my beautiful, intelligent black brothers and sisters. And finally, submission to and cooperation with victimization, and oppression are signs of an individual or group mental illness or self-negation, self-hatred, and even self-genocide, my beautiful, intelligent black brothers and sisters. And once the victims of white supremacy, once the victims of oppression accurately and completely decode the system and its objectives of oppression, and once they fully analyze, once the victims fully analyze the symbols and patterns of logic, patterns of thought, patterns of speech, patterns of action, patterns of emotional responses, and perceptions, consciously or unconsciously determined. That, in my opinion, constitutes the system. The oppressed will be able to reorganize their own behavior effectively. And this reorganization will result in self/group respect and support, and thereby end their oppression. We must end our oppression first, my beautiful, intelligent black brothers and sisters. You will never be whole, WHOLE, unless you have a mindset whereby you understand the white supremacy system, it intends, where you understand that you are being oppressed, then each one of us individually can adjust our behaviors, patterns, our thought patterns, our speech patterns, our actions, and our perceptions in a way that we have self-respect. We have respect for the black racial group. We love and support ourselves, our families, our children. We love and support each other within that black racial group. And when we arrive at that place, we will be behaving in a way that will say that we will not allow white supremacy and oppression to define who we are. We will define who we are. We will write our own stories. We will determine our own destinies. That's what I have on this one. Please go to thethrasherway.libsyn.com. There you will have access to all that I do. And download, and download some more, my beautiful, intelligent black brothers and sisters. Talk to you again on another one real soon.